published June 9, 2021 by Daniela Tulo and Hadley Madelson. Fair warning, this collection of scary haunted house stories in the dark or by yourself is likely to keep you up all night, or at very least send a chill down your spine, even if you consider yourself the bravest of the brave. So without further ado, we invite you to read about real-life haunted house stories from the creepiest places around the country. And in case you're feeling really fearless and ready to get freaky, you can actually book a stay at most of these places and greet the ghost yourself. So happy haunting ahead. Lemp Mansion, located in Fairfield County, Ohio. Until recently, the Lemp Mansion has had a bad reputation. Nobody can seem to agree on when it was built, but it dates back sometime between the 1840s and 1900. Unlike the other abandoned mansions on this list, you sadly can no longer visit it, as the home was demolished in 2015 after not being occupied since the 1930s. The last resident, at least legally speaking, Lulu Hartman, Mast, and the current owner of the property is her relative, Gianna Mast. Because there is so little information about who lived here and when, and because abandoned places tend to ignite the dark side of the imagination, there are tons of legends around alleged atrocities occurring and consequent hauntings. The sources don't seem to be very credible though. And if they're not credible, I guess the only way to find out is to go investigate yourself. I would like to. S.K. Pierce House, a beautiful Victorian home in Massachusetts. Massachusetts has no shortage of haunted mansions, it seems. The S.K. Pierce Victorian is one of the state's eeriest. The original occupant, Sylvester Pierce, had just started making his fortune in the furniture business when he built this home for himself, his son, and his wife Suzanne. He had hosted many notable people in his 7,000 square foot home throughout the years, including President Calvin Coolidge, Betty Davis, and Norman Rockwell. Only a week after moving into the home, Suzanne fell ill and passed away from a mysterious bacterial disease. A year later, he remarried Ellen, a woman 30 years younger than he was, and had 2 more children. Years later, when both Sylvester and Ellen had passed away, his sons embarked on a fiery feud about the property as well as the furniture company, but the Great Depression swept in and made their choice easier since the company basically went bankrupt. The youngest son, Edward, was given control of the home when he turned it into a boarding house. It became a hotspot for illicit activities, including the murder and sudden tragic deaths of several occupants. According to local lore, as a result of the violent ends, guests have reported every kind of haunting imaginable, from vision of apparitions to flying objects, disembodied sounds, pressure temperature drops, and more. I tell you what, I want to investigate every house on this list, just because I think it would be dope as hell. The Jean Harlow House in Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles is one of the best destinations for haunted house hunting, and this Bavarian-style home in Beverly Hills has a particularly gruesome history. In 1932, it was home to the iconic actress Jean Harlow and her abusive husband, Paul Byrne, who shot himself in the head while standing in front of a mirror. Their butler discovered him and called MGM instead of the police, so there were tons of rumors that it wasn't actually suicide. Many suspected Byrne's ex-girlfriend, a suspicion exasperated by her jumping off a boat to her death a couple of days later. Jean moved out after his death but died only a few days later at the age of only 26 years old. But wait, it gets creepier. In 1963, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring bought the home and lived there with his girlfriend Sharon Tate until she left him for Roman Polanski. They were still friends, and remained so until both them were murdered by the Charles Manson cult. Tate was the same age as Harlow when she passed, but back to when the couple lived in the Harlow house. Tate told several friends of creepy occurrences in the home and even mentioned it in the interviews. For example, once when she was sleeping in the master bedroom alone, she saw a, end quote, creepy little man, end quote. Her friends say she believed it to be Paul Burns' ghost. She was so freaked out when she saw the alleged ghost that she ran out of the room and then saw a hanging shadow corpse with its throat slit in the hallway. There are also stories about 2 other people dying in the swimming pool over the years. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. On June 10, 1912, Josiah and Sarah Moore were bludgeoned to death inside their home in Villisca, Iowa. Their 4 children and 2 friends who were spending the night were also killed. And to this day, the crime remains unsolved. Their home is considered one of the most haunted houses in the country, and guests are drawn to it. People even pay $400 plus to stay for one night. Some skeptics have even left believers. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, but it's known to be one of the most haunted places in America due to the tragic history. The 33-room home was built in the 1860s by William Lemp, a successful brewery owner who ended up killing himself in 1904 after the youngest of his 4 sons, Frederick, died of cancer in the house. Then in 1922, William Lemp Jr. shot himself in the same room William Sr. killed himself. As if that weren't enough tragedy for one place, in 1949, Charles Lemp, William's 3rd son, shot his dog in the basement of the home and then killed himself in his room. That same year, the house was sold and transformed into a boarding house where reports of hauntings began occurring. To Destination America, witnesses have experienced burning sensations and slamming doors. Today, the Lemp Mansion is a restaurant and an inn that also holds events on Sunday night. The inn hosts murder mystery dinner. They really sound pretty dope. I'd like to do that one day.